Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Thanks, King Solomon, and thanks everyone for else tuning in. So my name is Gautam. I lead the business side of our of Status Hedera solution, as well as some of the other solutions that we have across chains. Stader, as you mentioned, is a multi-chain liquid staking protocol. And I'll talk about Stader's origins first, and then I'll talk about my own origins into Web3. Stader basically was founded on the principle, like we were just kind of discussing, right? There's a huge amount of centralization in the entertainment industry, and similarly, we have co-founders which were like miners on Bitcoin earlier, and they were sort of early adopters of ETH, and some of the other blockchains networks as well. And when basically we saw that there's this huge problem that even though you have like multiple validators and POS networks, but power is actually concentrated in relatively few, right? What we call the Nakamoto coefficient, where basically how many validators or nodes does it take to kind of take over the network, right? So that was one problem, and then the other problem, which was kind of correlated to that, is that it's very difficult for an average user to look at validator parameters, operational parameters, and constantly do that, and then make an operational decision uh, on which validator or node to stake on, right? And that typically leads to the fact that, hey, you just look at heuristics, which is whoever has the largest stake, and you kind of stake there. And guess what? That increases the centralization problem even more, right? So this we set out to solve this problem, right? And while we were kind of looking at the solution, we also looked at one of the major factors in traditional staking is capital inefficiency, right? So if you stake your L1 token, that token cannot be used in the ecosystem. It cannot be used in DeFi. It can be used to purchase an NFT. It's locked there, and as long as it's locked, it's earning yield. And once you kind of take it out and use it, then it's not earning yield, right? Liquid staking and Stader solution was kind of born with the uh, sort of aim to solve all of this, make it super easy for users to put their L1 tokens in one place, make it algorithmically, balanced out between decentralization, which is sort of staking to multiple nodes or validators, and also getting the highest APY or the highest possible APY, and also making it super sort of one click, two click for the users so they don't have to worry about all the operational inefficiencies of monitoring these validators themselves, right? Then on the other hand, we aim to provide like the most amount of DeFi integrations so people can go ahead and use our liquid tokens and get the most bang for their buck or the most yield for their risk levels that might be suitable for their portfolios. So that's a little bit about Stader. We're present across six networks and launching on ETH soon. So that will be our seventh network. Hedera is actually our oldest network at this stage, right? And we brought sort of, I think, pretty much be the first DeFi solution on the network, and we kind of came in because we obviously understood this very different approach that Herrera was taking, which was very very unique, and it was very very interesting. I thought it would be pretty interesting to see how you actually introduce POS on a hash graph. And it's been amazing sort of interacting and building for and with the community since about April last year when we started this.
Yeah, and
On a
I saw that you guys had just recently made an announcement that you partnered with Pangolin as well. Can you maybe
Yep.
touch base a little bit about that partnership, as well as maybe discuss the differences between, like, if you're custodying your H bar on HashPack and you're natively staking versus what the H bar X aspects look like, potential benefits, and if there's any risks as well, that'd be fantastic to hear.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. So, first of all, I have to say we don't custody anything. So it's completely sort of permissionless, decentralized smart contract. Just to kind of dive into the specific questions, yeah, so Pangolin is one of our DEX partners, which we have integrated, and we have our HBAR X pool there, where you can provide liquidity. So just to compare and contrast what you can do, say, with plain native staking on HashPack is, of course, point your account to a particular node, and you will be getting 6.5% yield on that amount, but that amount will have to stay in your wallet to get that yield. Whereas what we offer is a liquid staking solution, where you can kind of give your H bar to our smart contract. It'll give you back H bar X. At the back end, what we do is pool all the H bar from the users and stake it through our algorithm into multiple nodes, right? We collect the 6.5%. We have a little bit of a boost going on to increase DeFi activity on the network. So there's an extra 2 to 3% that you get from staking with us. Plus, what we also do is take your rewards each day and stake it back into the node. So there's an auto compounding effect that happens. Net, you make about 10% APY across all of these factors or optimizations. But the real kicker is that now you can use your H bar X in a DEX like Pangolin and provide liquidity on our H bar X pool, which is a very low impermanent loss pool, and earn more yields on that, right? So you get your staking yields, but your money isn't really locked in. You can actually go ahead and use it in one of our DEX partners like Pangolin, and that's where the biggest efficiency of liquid staking is versus plain or protocol staking. In terms of the risks, of course, if you do provide, if you do follow the strategy, you're taking the smart contract risk from Stader, which is basically, you know, right at this stage, we've been audited twice. We've been on the network for about, close to a year now. And we've had, 2 or 3 upgrades. We have a multi-sig. So there's security from a rogue actor perspective as well. And some of the institutions have also stayed with us in the past and currently as well. So there's it's a pretty robust contract, which is sort of undergone, I think, 10,000 plus transactions, or actually 100,000 plus transactions, excuse me, 10,000 plus users. And obviously, if you put that H bar X on Pangolin, then you're obviously taking on the Pangolin DEX risk as well. So those are a couple of things that you need to be cognizant about when you're using some of these DeFi strategies.
No, thank you. That's great. I really appreciate the transparent answer. And I have to give you a shout out too, by the way, Stater. I know that you guys have supported a lot of the interviews and stuff that we've been facilitating. So I just wanted to say I see that on a daily basis, and I really wanted to just say thank you. That means a lot to us that we have your support. I want to get
Our
to
pleasure.
thanks, bro. So I want to kind of open it up with Acme Labs, and I know that we talked about the backgrounds and kind of why Web3 and why Hedera, but can you talk a little bit about? First, I'm curious because I think you touched on it briefly during Hashing Times. Like, how did you guys gain access to the intellectual property of Chuck Jones through, I'm assuming, the estate? And then, second, after that, can you talk about the collection or collections that you have live right now and what those might represent down the line for the community?
Sure, yeah, happy to do it. So our kind of the evolution of the relationship with the Chuck Jones estate. So back in like 2020, so in blockchain years, that's a decade ago. We first got connected to Chuck's grandson Craig, who is the president of the Chuck Jones companies. Within the Chuck Jones family of companies, there are the galleries, so they own and operate I think currently like 3 or 4 galleries throughout the US, and then they also have the Chuck Jones Museum and then the Chuck Jones Center for Creativity, which is kind of a nonprofit arm that is kind of helping increase people's access to creativity and all of that fun. So that's kind of the Chuck Jones family of companies. Craig Cawson is the president of all of those, as well as is Chuck Jones's grandson, and kind of leads point on the estate's evolution. And he and I got connected, specifically interested in talking about how we can virtualize art buying experiences. He's not only a Chuck Jones's grandson and the president of the companies. He has a background in computer science and was an engineer for a while, so much more technologically inclined than your average art gallery owner. And so they've had their art business side for about 30 years. I think he's been running that side of it. And originally we were doing some consulting and advisory around virtualizing an art buying experience. Kind of the core of that was, how can we take what it is to go into an art gallery, see some amazing art, learn about the history of that art, learn about Chuck Jones, learn about animation as a whole, and talk to an expert, those sorts of things. How can we more seamlessly provide that kind of an experience online? And so that's been one core component of what's been driving a lot of our early platform, is how do we help specifically around this virtualizing and creating a art buying experience. And that is a fun project to do. We've also been virtualizing a museum project. That's something that will be coming up here pretty soon. We'll be inviting people in to tour a Chuck Jones museum virtually. And so it's through that relationship that we basically, they became one of the early partners in our company, and we've got this long-standing relationship related to their art gallery business, the museum business, as well as helping evolve some of the IP. So one of the interesting things that I discovered while in the process of going through all of this was Chuck Jones was, and Josh did a good job explaining, like, proper genius, one of the most innovative and creative visionaries in the animation space. Didn't just create most of the Looney Tunes characters we all know and love. The guy had a bit of a gift tapping into the ether and creating characters. So he has been creating different characters all throughout his life. And there's essentially the family vault has all kinds of other IP that he's developed and created over the years that, to be frank, there's been no new way to do anything with it. And so when we got to this level or layer of what we've been evolving and developing, kind of the Acme Labs core mission is to work with creators and IP holders to evolve media in different ways. And that's everything from how do we monetize it? How do we do better IP controls, like who owns what IP? What are they allowed to do with it or not allowed to do with it? And then what kinds of media experiences does that IP go into? So that's kind of our core mission. So when we think about how we do that with the Chuck Jones partnership, we help them with what IP do they have, what are the kind of rights and rules, regulations around what can be done with it, how they would like it to be used, and then what are the new ways that we can bring these characters and these stories to life in new mediums. So that's the vision we're all up to. What we have started with is a personal favorite character of mine, Chuck Jones's Lost Rabbit. So that was one of the characters that when we first saw it, everybody just went, this is an amazingly cool character. And Rabbit had only ever been seen once before, back in the 80s. Chuck let this rock band out of Canada use it as album cover art. So it was the one time the public ever saw Rabbit was Canadian rock album cover art for a hot minute. And then he's been locked in the basement since. And so we thought about, how would we take this new character, this new IP? What's a Web3 native kind of evolution of it? How would we launch this new character and story? And so what you'll see is Rabbit is a PFP project as the first kind of, visual and collectible opportunity around it. You'll also see, if you go to our site, you can see Rabbit's backstory and some of the world building we've been doing around the Rabbit character and the opportunities to evolve this character into all the other things that are possible, the other media forms, formats. That's the, kind of the next evolution of where we are with Rabbit.